From the darkest reaches of space to the deepest corners of your mind. Welcome to From the Void.
Welcome back to From the Void and the second part of my interview with producer, writer, director, and UFO researcher, Caroline Cory. If you haven't heard part one yet, pause this episode and go back to the last episode first. If you've already heard it, well, then you're in the right place. Here's part two of A Tear in the Sky on From the Void. Yeah, I think I'm in a similar place just in terms of the fact that it seems like, you know, if you believe some of the stories that have been out there for a while, like, you know, like the account of Bob Lazar, it seemed kind of crazy at initially. And then as time has gone by, some of the aspects of his story have been proven at this point. You know, some of the things that were very specific to his story that now have been confirmed as things get declassified over time. Then it kind of leads you to believe that perhaps, you know, the U.S. government at least has gotten their hands on some advanced technology that is otherworldly. And so maybe some of it is ours and us trying to back engineer things and trying to figure out the physics behind it. And then some of it is, you know, quite possibly literally otherworldly and potentially from civilizations that are, you know, potentially millions of years beyond us. And, you know, you think about just the advancement in technology within the human civilization between, say, 1900 and today, and, you know, it's exploded and continues to, you know, advance at rapid speeds. You know, I remember, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I had a psychology teacher in high school who went to a technology convention and came back and he said, and this is probably 1996 maybe, said, you know, I believe that in your lifetimes, you guys will see technology where you'll have your phone and your computer and, you know, all these devices that were used to being separate will all be one device, and it'll be tiny and you'll be able to carry around your, you know, I mean, he basically predicted the iPhone. So, right. You know, and you think about that, just the, you know, in my lifetime, in my adult lifetime, the advances to technology, it's remarkable. So you expand that exponentially outward to, you know, what is it going to look like? What are we going to discover in the next 500 years? You know, much less another million years if we don't kill ourselves first. So, you know,
right. Exactly. I agree. I mean, and to think that we are like the most advanced civilization in the whole universe is also kind of ridiculous. Like, just look at the mechanics of the universe, look at this galaxy, look at the potential of how many planets could be inhabited with a more advanced civilization. You know, I mean, the odds of that is staggering. I mean, and so to think that these civilizations, you know, couldn't have figured out how to interstellar travel, like, and that it has nothing to do with propulsion, actually. Right. It's at a whole different level because traversing space, light years, you know, between planets, you know, if you're going at it linearly, taking months and months and years, just doesn't make sense. You know, right. It's like, so we will never, ever, ever, ever get to, you know, outside this galaxy. You know what I mean? Like the human would, because if that's the case, and it just doesn't make sense that however this universe came about, however intelligent life came about, regardless, for it to be totally disconnected from each other, like, you know, just doesn't make any sense. So that's why I think it's just a matter of time and a matter of understanding the mechanics of the universe, really, first. And to me, consciousness is a big piece of the puzzle. I think it's at the base of all understanding. It's kind of like the science of consciousness. Whenever we start to look at it from that perspective, would eventually explain all the what we call paranormal events, anything that's beyond physical. So, we want Newtonian laws to explain everything. Well, okay, there are other things happening that are not explained that way. So we need to say Newtonian laws explain the physical world, but then there are other laws that govern the rest of what's happening, of reality. And so I think the moment scientists start looking at it from that perspective, we will start to really, really, really advance as a civilization and start to create technology accordingly. And so, and that technology will allow, because it will be based on consciousness. Consciousness is unbound by space and time. A consciousness is non-local. So then you start to create technology that allows you to teleport or, go from one point to another in space, interstellar travel that's based on, quantum, warping and things like that, as opposed to what we're doing right now.
Yeah, you're getting into the wheelhouse of Dr. Michio Kaku, who I got to interview several years ago, and man, he lit up when we were talking about what was it? Advancements in our space program, and as you said, we're talking about different forms of propulsion, and when you talk about that, like the nearest star, it would take us millions of years to get there, just because of the current technology. It would be so slow, and physics, the laws of physics tell us that we cannot exceed the speed of light. And so using that form of technology, we're probably never going to get there. We would have to have ships that would carry generations of people, basically a planet, on a ship, to even get there. But if we start to talk about alternate, ways of getting from point A to point B, when we talk about anti-gravity technology or the ability to create enough energy to warp space-time and leapfrog across the universe, then suddenly, it's theoretically possible. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's what these other civilizations have figured out that are further advanced and further along than we are.
Yeah, I mean, Einstein and, speaking of Michio Kaku, he even says it's totally possible. It's not, it's physically possible to warp, warp technology, and also wormholes. They're very, very possible. They don't know how, or they don't know where, or whatever. But so if it's scientifically possible already, scientists accepting that fact is a first step. But now we need to kind of do something about it, Right. So that's why, going back to the film, I'm so excited about, again, the discovery that we made. Is it a wormhole? Is it something similar to a wormhole? What is that? And by the way, since we finished the film, there's a lot of scientists who looked at the data, because, the recordings it's raw files. We didn't do anything, like we didn't change anything, or so. We just zoomed in on the anomaly, and so other scientists looked at it, looked at the raw files, many of them, because we put it out in a conference, a scientific conference for UAP, and also the scientists in the movie, they're working on a paper actually. Talking about all this. And so they are in contact with all sorts of different scientists, from NASA to atmospheric science, to also like different disciplines, to try to say, what is that? It's not like we want it to be this way or that way. We just want to know, what is this? Because of course we've already proved and shown that it's not, it's not a camera glitch. It's not this, it's not that. So what is it? So, but by definition, if a wormhole is basically an opening of some sort in the fabric of space-time and allows you to travel or allows you to instantaneously, faster than the speed of light, appear and disappear, well, that's what's showing on the camera. That's what it's doing. And and there is no, like, they're telling us theoretically that's what that wormhole is possible, but there's like animation of some fake, wormhole, but no one's recorded, nobody's taken a photograph of an actual wormhole. So why not? What if it's this, So that's why it's crazy, at least to have that conversation. And by the way, just a quick side note, but important one. Since the film was done, we continue to try to have access to satellite images, because you'll see in the movie, we have specific location of that wormhole, the height, the angle, how we have the coordinates, and of course the time of the day, and so we kept trying to find out, satellite images about that specific event on that day, that time, that location, etc. And impossible. Of course, we're talking private agencies, governmental agencies. No one, either they don't have it or they won't give it to us. And finally, we filed a FOIA request saying, "Hey, we want to know." And basically, they came back. We have the letter. And that says, yeah, even though we are the United States government agency for satellite imagery, this and that, we do have all of these images, but the ones you want is FOIA exempt, meaning classified.
Wow.
Hello.
You're like, I really want to see it now.
Yeah. What's an image, like satellite image of this one thing, like, is going to do? What is it going to do? So the fact that they said that is kind of mind blowing. Like, what's going on here?
Well, it kind of goes back to this idea that when these military officials start reporting these things up the chain of command, they seem very disinterested in it. But that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous notion to think that the government on many levels wouldn't be absolutely interested in this, especially if it's not our technology, because the military industrial complex, we always want to have the edge on our enemies. So if we could get our hands on technology that's just light years beyond anything our adversaries have, of course we're going to try to get our hands on it and weaponize it. So like this notion that the government hasn't been studying these things all along is ridiculous.
I know, for sure. That's what I mean. Like, the truth has to come out. I think the truth is coming out. So every effort, we have to kind of move in that direction. That's what I'm doing, by putting this information out there, by investing in that type of projects and expedition and science and things like that. The better and the faster, we will have some results, because, we can't be waiting for them to tell us the truth, obviously, at this point. So we have to keep at it. We have to keep going. And so I'm very excited that this film was the first of its kind, to do something like that. And so we have to keep spreading that information and those visuals, those images, as much as possible.
Absolutely. What in your opinion, as you've worked with these different witnesses and scientists and using all this amazing technology, like one of the pieces of technology that I thought was the most remarkable, and I'd seen this used once before, is this software that's able to determine whether or not the object being filmed is a bird or a satellite or a plane, and identify it. And then if it essentially like checks all those things off the list and there's nothing left, then it identifies it as a potential UAP. what is the most remarkable evidence that you've seen so far, or at least heard of through these different individuals who have been studying this?
Yeah, I mean that's we did use that technology that you mentioned in our UFO DAP system and other software that one of the scientists was developing himself, kind of writing it from scratch. I think there are a couple of other ones already out there as well. And so, yeah, basically, you have to realize that when you're doing a research, it's hours after hours. I mean, it's hundreds of hours of data. So if you're recording because you can't be staring at the entire sky all at once. You have to have many people. I mean, you have to record it anyway. And so if you're running these recordings 24/7 for a long period of time, you end up with ridiculous amounts of files, which we did already. So even with that type of software, so the software is going to help you rule out right away if it's a bird or an insect, or if it's a satellite as well. So this technology is already out there. And I mean, I don't know, I haven't spoken specifically about that technology to other people, to be honest. But for me, the wormhole thing is one of those captures. It was through one of those cameras that had that software. So right off the bat, the software already knew it's not this, it's not that, it's not, and also even with this type of software, the scientists, as they're studying the data, they still consider the possibility that maybe it's a camera glitch, So that's the next thing that they would do. Is it a camera glitch? Why is it, or why isn't it? Is it radiation? Is it light? Is it some sort of, again, atmospheric, so they go down the list of beyond the software. The software is like the first step to eliminate hundreds of hours of data, files. But then even with that, then you have the scientists who step in and study like the heck out of it. It's like frame by frame to make sure. Because also, these are hardcore scientists. These aren't like ufologists into New Age or whatever, who are right away going to say, oh, we found a wormhole, we found a UFO. They're going to be very careful. In fact, we were having this discussion all the time throughout the whole production. They kept saying, we have to be careful. We're like scholars here, our, at the university, our image and our reputation. It was a constant conversation we were having. So these guys were very, very, very nervous going into that, and making sure that whatever they put out there was science-based and scientific. So people need to remember that, that these are the types of scientists who did investigate the project in our film beyond even this software.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible job that you're doing. I think the thing that will push this field forward is exactly what you guys did in the film, which is to bring in the right types of professionals to heavily scrutinize the data, so that we can rule out things that ordinarily, like when someone throws a video or a picture up, that later get debunked because we didn't do our due diligence and eliminating the other possibilities. And that's what you guys are doing. And that's what we need to do as a whole in this field to bring credibility to it and to get other people with those types of expertise to come in and be interested enough to come in and lend their expertise and their knowledge to the study of this, so we can once and for all figure out what in the world is flying laps around our best technology.
Right, exactly. So, I'm doing my part, and I'm hoping, again, with the film that more people will try to do, similar things, or I mean, not necessarily exactly the same, but I mean, keep moving the go to the next step, like keep moving forward. We need that to finally come to the truth.
Absolutely. Well, before I let you go, where can people stay up on top of what you're up to, and what are you working on next?
Yeah, so I'm definitely working on the next, the sequel for this one and other projects as well, in different areas. But definitely this one has a follow up, just because where we left off was just crazy cliffhanger. Like, is this possible? What we stumbled on. So that's in the works, and other projects as well. The best way to people to watch this film and to kind of see what's going on with this research, at least, go to atereinthesky.com. That's the title of the film, atereinthesky.com. And they can watch it on Amazon, iTunes, pretty much everywhere. And then they can get in touch with me also through the website. And then we'll post updates of future projects there as well, atereinthesky.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I was super excited to have you on. I love this documentary, watched it a while back and thoroughly enjoyed it and the approach. And if nothing else, I hope that it lends to the credibility of the topic for no other reason than for guys like Kevin Day, who, regardless of what this phenomenon is, it's clearly had a monumental impact on guys like him. You can see how visibly shaken he is when discussing it, and it as you said, almost destroyed his career and has affected negatively a lot of other people similarly. So if we can at least get this subject and move it along to the point where people start to take it seriously and start to look into it, and their initial reaction isn't just to make light of it and kind of pass it off, then I think we're moving in the right direction. So I appreciate your work in the field.
Oh, thanks so much for saying that. I appreciate you inviting me also today. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. What is it that so many military personnel are seeing in our skies and even in our oceans? Are they advanced aircraft being developed by some black budget program? Something being tested out against our top known technology to see how it stands up? But if so, the technology behind these unknown craft is seemingly decades beyond any current known technology and seems to employ a propulsion system that appears to manipulate gravity itself. It also doesn't explain the fact that these objects have been sighted going back as far as World War II, or perhaps even farther back. Perhaps the answers won't come from the government as we'd always imagined, but from we, the people. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. If you enjoyed this or any of the previous episodes, consider rating, reviewing, and subscribing, and also telling a friend. It helps us get noticed. I'll be back next week with a brand new mystery. And until then, I've been your host, John Williamson, and you've been listening to From the Void.